Good morning, friends. I'm Dr. Yogesh Sarode of Junikas Mahavidyalaya, Devgram. Welcome you all in this session. In the last session, we had seen the first lesson, Playing the English Gentleman by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, about the lesson and about the author also. Now, in this video, we will see the comprehension part while reading the lesson. So, listen carefully. Gandhi writes, "My faith in vegetarianism grew on me from day-to-day activities. Salt's book whetted my appetite for dietetic studies. I went in for all books available on vegetarianism and read them. One of these, Howard Williams' The Ethics of Diet, was a biographical history of literature of human dietetics from the earliest period to the present day. It tried to make out that all philosophers and prophets from Pythagoras and Jesus down to those of the present age were vegetarians. Dr. Anna Kingford's The Perfect Way in Diet was also an attractive book. Dr. Alligen's writing on health and hygiene were likewise very helpful. He advocated a curative system based on regulation of the dietary of patients. Himself a vegetarian, he prescribed for his patients also a strictly vegetarian diet. The result of reading all this literature was that dietetic experiments came to take an important place in my life. Health was the principal consideration of these experiments to begin with. But later on, religion became the supreme motive. So, in the above paragraph, he talks about his faith in vegetarianism, the books which later enhanced his faith in vegetarianism, but his first motive was religion, which he does not forget. In the second paragraph, he writes, "Meanwhile, my friend had not ceased to worry about me. His love for me led him to think that if I persisted in my objections to meat eating, I should not only develop a weak constitution, but should remain a duffer, because I should never feel at home in English society. When he came to know that I had begun to interest myself in books on vegetarianism, he was afraid lest these studies should muddle my head, that I should fritter my life away in experiments, forgetting my own work and become a crank. He therefore made one last effort to reform me. He one day invited me to go to the theatre. Before the play, we were to dine together at the Holborn restaurant. To me, a palatial place and the first big restaurant I had been to since leaving the Victoria Hotel. The stay at that hotel had scarcely been a helpful experience, for I had not invited there with my wits about me. The friend had planned to take me to this restaurant, evidently imagining that modesty would forbid any questions. And it was a very big company of diners, in the midst of which my friend and I sat sharing a table between us. The first course was soup. I wondered what it might be made of, but dared not to ask the friend about it. I therefore summoned a waiter. My friend saw the movement and sternly asked across the table what the matter was. With considerable hesitation, I told him that I wanted to inquire if the soup was a vegetable soup. You are too clumsy for decent society," he passionately exclaimed. "If you cannot behave yourself, you had better go, feed in some other restaurant, and await me outside." This delighted me. Out I went. There was a vegetarian restaurant close by, but it was closed. So I went without food that night. I accompanied my friend to the theatre, but he never said a word about the scene I had created. On my part, of course, there was nothing to say. So, in the above paragraph, he focuses on his friend's worries about Gandhi, that if Gandhi does not eat meat, he would develop a weak health, weak constitution. His friends make several attempts to change Gandhi's opinion, but he remains adamant. Among them, one attempt was to invite Gandhi at the Holborn restaurant, but there also his friends fail. Gandhi remains without food that day, and here Gandhi wins because of his principles. Now, the third paragraph, Gandhi writes, that was the last friendly tussle we had. It did not affect our relations in the least. I could see and appreciate the love by which all my friends' efforts were actuated, and my respect for him was all the greater on account of our differences in thought and action. But I decided that I should put him at ease, that I should assure him that I would be clumsy no more, but try to become polished and make up for my vegetarianism by cultivating other accomplishments which fitted one for polite society. And for this purpose, I undertook the all too impossible task of becoming an English gentleman. The clothes after the Bombay cut that I was wearing were, I thought, unsuitable for English society, and I got new ones at the army and navy stores. I also went in for a chimney pot hat costing 19 shillings, an excessive price in those days. Not content with this, I wasted 10 pounds on an evening suit made in Bond Street, the center of fashionable life in London, and got my good and noble hearted brother to send me a double watch chain of gold. It was not correct to wear a ready made tie, and I learned the art of tying one for myself. While in India, the mirror had been a luxury permitted on the days when family barber gave me a shave. Here I wasted 10 minutes every day before a huge mirror, watching myself, arranging my tie and parting my hair in the correct fashion. My hair was by no means soft, and every day it meant regular struggle with the brush to keep it in position. Each time the hat was put on and off, the hand would automatically move towards the head to adjust the hair, not to mention the other civilized habit of the hand every now and then operating for the same purpose when sitting in polished society. Now, in the above paragraph, Gandhi says that in spite of going against the wish of his friends, his respect for his friends does not evaporate, does not diminish. He appreciates the love of his friends for him. Then he decides to undertake all impossible assignments to perform in order to remain decent to the English society and to look like an English gentleman. Then he changes his dress, learn to wear a tie, skill of parting hair, and what not. He does all things which he does not have imagined while departing India, but he does not make compromise with his principles. And the promise he had given to his mother Kasturba and wife Putra. Now in fourth paragraph, Gandhi writes, as if all this were not enough to make me look the thing, I directed my attention to other details that were supposed to go towards the making of an English gentleman. I was told that it was necessary for me to take lessons in dancing, French, and elocution. French was not only the language of neighboring France, but it was the lingua franca of the continent over which I had a desire to travel. I decided to take dancing lessons at a class and paid down $3 as fees for a turn. I must have taken about 6 lessons in the 3 weeks, but it was beyond me to achieve anything like rhythmic motion. I could not follow the piano and hence found it impossible to keep time. What then was I to do? The recluse in the fable kept a cat to keep off the rats, and then a cow to feed the cat with milk, and a man to keep the cow, and so on. My ambitions also grew like the family of the recluse. I thought I should learn to play the violin in order to cultivate an ear for Western music. So I invested $3 in a violin and something more in fees. I sought a third teacher to give me lessons in elocution and paid him a preliminary fee of a guinea. He recommended Bell's Standard Elocutionist as the textbook, which I purchased, and I began with a speech of Pitt's. Now here he traces that he has attempted all important courses which has been suggested to him to look like an English gentleman. He takes lessons in dancing, French, elocution, classes of violin in order to generate interest in Western music. He hires teacher to learn violin, purchases textbook, etc. In the fifth paragraph, he says, "But Mr. Bell rang the bell of alarm in my ear and I awoke." This is important sentence. Mr. Bell rang the bell of alarm. Though here it seems physically a bell, but it's a bell of awakening. I had not to spend a lifetime in England. I said to myself, what then was the use of learning elocution? And how could dancing make a gentleman of me? The violin I could learn even in India. I was a student and ought to go on with my studies. I should qualify myself to join the Inns of Court. If my character made a gentleman of me, so much the better. Otherwise, I should forego the ambition. These and similar thoughts possessed me, and I expressed them in a letter which I addressed to the elocution teacher, requesting him to excuse me from further lessons. I had taken only 2 or 3. I wrote a similar letter to the dancing teacher and went personally to the violin teacher with a request to dispose of the violin for any price it might fetch. She was rather friendly to me, so I told her how I had discovered that I was pursuing a false ideal. She encouraged me in the determination to make a complete change. The infatuation must have lasted about 3 months. The punctiliousness in dress persisted for years, but henceforward I became a student. So, here in the last paragraph, he says, Mr. Bell awakened me not from physical sleep, but I realize that I am wasting my time in just trivial matter, which is not important to achieve goal. I departed India not for doing such things, but to get barrister's degree. My main goal is remained aside. So Mr. Bell's alarm, though rang physically, but it was more a reminding Gandhi about his goal to go to London. At this juncture, I remind American poet Robert Frost, who says, "Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Thus, he leaves aside all these things and concentrate on his purpose, and here ends this lesson. So, friends, we have carried out reading and comprehension of this lesson. In the next video, we will see the analysis part of this lesson. Thank you. Good day.